I'd like to welcome everyone to this very special session of the 18th Enactus Kenya National Expo. As you all know, we are faced with a big challenge, staying at home, not doing the normal things that we are used to. You can't even hug people, you can't say hello, and then everything is controlled. There's curfew for those who've been in Nairobi, you can't go to your village, and if you don't go to Shago, they're also worried. And so all this contributes to lots of pressure to our brains, both as students, as even academia and industry, and I should say everybody. There's really no one who can say they have escaped this pressure that Corona is posing to all of us. And so we are very much honored to have a speaker who is a specialist in matters of public health. And this is Nancy Wanjiru Shinei. She's the founder and lead psychologist, Hisia, if I read in Swahili, Hisia Psychology Consultants. So we are going to allow Nancy to make a short presentation, and then after that, we will have question and answer, and we should conclude this session by around 1:45, and then thereafter we shall be making announcements on what to follow next. So Nancy, the floor is yours.
Asante sana, happy to be here and happy to have you, everybody. So my name is Nancy Kabiru. I am a mental health champion. I run Hisia Psychology Consultants. We are based in Riverside, Westlands. So feel free to reach us out. We shall share our contact at the end of the presentation. So I wanted to discuss matters mental health. And what I have 4 items that I would like to address. That is 1, fear or the effects COVID-19 has created. Then the mental health challenges to individuals, families, and the environment. Then what it means to social distance and managing health in an uncertain environment. So definitely COVID-19 is a pandemic, and we know that it is a communicable respiratory disease caused by a new strain of coronavirus that causes illnesses in human beings. So coronavirus is a flu-like infection that has been going on. So it runs from as mild as flu to very severe cases. And the strain that we are currently battling in the world is COVID-19. So COVID-19 has caused daily infections in people. It has caused death. It has caused social disruption, economic loss, uncertainty about the future. There is obviously emotional strain, then health and safety concerns. And I'm sure we have learned over the last few months to really, really wash our hands, sanitize, take care of cleanliness. We have learned about that. So it has also affected the livelihoods and economic disruption. Basically, a lot of people are not able to continue making an income as they used to previously. There is a lot of anxiety going on. Academic interruptions has happened. Then there is depression, growing number of cases of depression. Then we have a medical uncertainty in that there is no treatment or cure as of now, but there is research being conducted. And there is community and risk, meaning you can get it from the community or you can infect the community. So when all this is going on, what happens to you as an individual? There are several things that happen to individuals. As a mental health practitioner, we have seen a rising number of anxiety disorders or panic cases, people reporting that to us. And this was because when COVID-19 was first announced, we did not know the way it's going to spread. And so everybody took different measures. I was one person who was affected. I panicked, I went out, and I really, really shocked. And I'm sure each of you had their way of coping or dealing with the information when it was first coming. But with time, we learned that being in a panic is not healthy, and it's not a state that you can be in constantly. It will cause you mental distress. And this is the field where I love to talk about. So when you have someone who has panic or anxiety, they may be feeling nervous, restless, or tense. They may be having a sense of fear of impending danger, panic or doom, because we saw cases of what was happening in China, we saw what was happening in Italy, we saw businesses being closed, the whole social distancing and lockdown being imposed by the government. So everybody went through a panic. But it depends with how your body is able to cope with these things. Because if you're not well trained, or if you're not able to cope with panic or anxiety, then it causes other physical challenges. You may develop some physical illnesses. So it depends with how you're able to handle this. Then you may have been feeling weak and tired, like you are not up to par or to deliver what you're supposed to deliver. You may have experienced trouble concentrating or thinking. That is because of this panic or this anxiety, it clogs your mind. The second mental health challenge we have seen rise has been depression. And we call depression a mood disorder, which affects your daily life, and is caused by faulty mood regulation in your brain, could be genetic, and could be because of stressful life events, especially COVID-19. It could also be because of medication or medical problem. So when we focus on COVID-19, the fact that it has already been stressful, there are people who've been laid off work, there are people who've stopped going to school, there are projects which have stalled. Definitely an increase in depression has come about. And this, as I mentioned, can be caused by faulty mood regulation. When you're not able to regulate your mood because of the uncertainty you're facing, then you could go into depression. How do you know you have depression? You would tell if you have a change in your appetite, could be high or low, when you have difficulty thinking, concentrating, or making decisions. This one coincides with what I had talked about, panic or anxiety. When you have fatigue or loss of energy, still coinciding with anxiety or panic. And if you have recurrent thoughts of death, suicide, or attempts of suicide, because of the great fear of what COVID-19 will eventually mean, the whole stigma associated with COVID-19, you may have thoughts of recurrent death or even a wish to commit suicide. Then you could have developed reduced interest or pleasure in activities that you once enjoyed. And you may have problem with sleeping, or that is sleeping too much or sleeping very little amount of time. And you could also experience it physiologically, where you're not able to communicate effectively, like you have a slurred speech. And you may also develop an intentional weight gain or weight loss. Remember, when there's a change in your appetite, it will definitely reflect on your weight. Then the other third mental health problem we have seen increase, and this is part of what is affecting the family, individuals, and environment. We have seen a rise in number of cases of post-traumatic stress disorder. So this is coming in different forms, where people have been confined in a homestead where you are not used to one another, and hence there is a rise in number of violence cases. And these violent cases are affecting the young generation, or even the person who is being abused, meaning they are going through stress, they are going through trauma. And because of this constant exposure to trauma, the cases of post-traumatic stress disorder are rising. And this, the reason why post-traumatic stress disorder arises is because if you're exposed to terrifying events, if you have, you witness it yourself, or you hear it, it has happened to somebody close to you, and it triggers an emotional reaction in you, that could be a reason why you develop PTSD. So how do you know if you're going through PTSD, or if someone else is going through PTSD? This is when someone avoids feelings or thoughts or places that remind them of the tragedy. And unfortunately, because we previously had the lockdown where there was no allowed movement to different places in the country, then there were people who were left at the mercy of their abusers, and they couldn't leave, and they were exposed to too much trauma. So when you're not able to leave and you're constantly at that environment and you cannot avoid it, what does it do to your mind? What does it do to your emotions? What does it do to your behavior? Because one way or another, your mind will be affected, your thoughts, your behavior will be affected, your emotions will be affected. When you try to forget what you're going through, you can grow numb of the situation, but when you're alone, then the memories keep coming back to your mind. And it could come when you're sleeping as a nightmare. You could talk in your sleep, or you could end up having a slip of the tongue. When you're talking to someone, you talk of something very horrible, but you don't want to say it is you who is going through it. So that is another sign that you could be exposed or you could be going through trauma. When you feel emotionally numb or you're detached to people, because of the tragic situation or environment you're going on, you try and forget your own feelings, and your body protects your mind from processing the trauma. That way, you end up being emotionally numb. You could also experience flashbacks, or you could have intense feelings of distress when you're reminded of the tragic event or when you remember it. So those are some of the signs and symptoms of whether you're going through PTSD or if somebody else is going through PTSD. There are there's another case that we have realized is growing. There is a lot of alcohol and drug sale right now. It's on the increase. People are prescribing medication. They are taking illegal drugs. They are also abusing alcohol a lot as a coping mechanism. And this is happening mostly to people who have lost their jobs, or people who have been forced to stay in relationships because of the reduced movement. They are not able to leave, and they are not comfortable in those relationships. Then they end up taking alcohol or drugs so that they can cope, or so that they can sleep, or just forget that they're in that situation. So what do we call a drug or substance abuse disorder? This is when you continuously take something, even if it is causing you health issues, and it is causing you a chemical imbalance, or it causes you problems or alters your habits, your behavior, or your appearance at work, at school, or at home. So in this case, because we've been home, most of us, your appearance, how you behave at home has been altered. Because, and I told you, these people take alcohol or drugs as a coping mechanism, or something to help them get by the situation they are going through. So they don't want to express how they actually feel, so they need these drugs to help them behave in a certain manner. So someone can be extremely polite to you when they have taken this substance, but when they have not taken it, they are not polite to you. So this alteration of behavior, is it healthy? Why can't you function without it normally in a healthy way? So when you find that you rely on this substance, then you're getting a substance abuse disorder. So you will find someone who is taking this will avoid certain activities because, of course, they are not 100%. They will have difficulties remembering important aspects. They will have a problem doing their chores or committing to tasks, because the drugs or the substance cause chemical imbalance or make them get depressive symptoms. They may have difficulty driving, or even they may engage in risky behavior when under this influence. This is and we saw this rise, especially when during curfew, when the 7 p.m. curfew was imposed. a lot of people kept being arrested, and the next day they'll still go out, indulge in these drugs and substance, come back late, get arrested, know that they'll bribe their way out. And these are risky behaviors, but you cannot be able to stop yourself from doing that. Then you find somebody who has drugs and substance abuse disorder, keeps needing more for the same effect. So the body becomes tolerant of a certain quantity, and your body will keep demanding for more and more and more, meaning even what resources you have, you will end up exhausting these resources on this substance, and it is not a healthy way. And of course, because of the chemical imbalance it causes in the brain, it will eventually cause you to have serious mental health challenges. We have also seen a rising number of addiction. And in this case, I will look at addiction as a combined effect. You could be addicted to drugs and substance, you could be addicted to an activity, and you could be addicted to chemicals. So addiction is a brain disease that you grow into. So when you have this brain disease, it manifests psychological and physical inability to stop consuming a chemical. So you cannot be able to control yourself. Remember, it starts as an abuse disorder and grows into an addiction. So how would you know whether you're becoming addictive? You would know this if you keep stashing small drugs in different locations, so that when you need them, they are at your reach. Then when you have change in your social directive, as we have been told, social distancing, and we know why we need to. It is because of the infection rate, to reduce the infection or the chances of you or somebody else getting infected. The second thing we need to know or to do is to protect your mind. And how do you protect your mind? You need to read a book, ensure that you're gaining more knowledge every other time. And then you need to avoid too much media time, because a lot of media time on the subject matter that is causing you distress will only make the situation worse or affirm your fears. And with your fears affirmed, definitely your mind will make a perception. And when your mind has a perception, then it will develop a coping mechanism. And most of the time, because you're not a professional or you are not working through the process with a mental health practitioner, your coping mechanism will almost always be negative. So ensure that you avoid a lot of media time on a subject that causes you distress. Then you need to get enough sleep or rest. Plan out your daily activities. Even if you're not working, ensure you have a schedule and you can actually check yourself for what you have been able to achieve. These small measures ensures that your mind feels encouraged to wake up the next day. But when you have no plan at all, your mind will not be encouraged to wake up the next day, because it doesn't know what it is looking forward to. And then the third thing we need to do is to take care of our emotions. And we can do this by ensuring that we keep a social circle. If you're been locked down in a different part of the country, you need to ensure communication, ask people to talk to you or talk to people. There are different social media platforms which you can do this, and ensure you keep engaging people, and this will give you a sense of belonging and a sense of feeling wanted.
Hello,
Yes.
Nancy. Yes, I know, Nancy, we have a lot to share, but we're also trying to see how we can manage the time, and at the same time, how we can, if our students want to get hold of you, where they can get you, because I know we can't exhaust all the topics now. Is it something you can allow us to share with the students, your contacts, email, and physical address?
Yes, I could do that.
Yeah, so that's the first question. And then, of course, the second part of the question is whether I can allow at least only 3 students with a burning question maybe to ask you, so that we create some kind of interaction on this. Is that okay?
That is okay. That is okay.
So I think all the participants, you had our guest. We'll allow only 3 questions so that we move to the next step. I know all of us are anxious to know which university has proceeded to the finals, but I think we'd like to have some interaction. So please, by show of hands, if you can do that. I see Dickens. It will be good. At least we interact with Nancy. But Nancy, maybe if the questions are not ready, I could be the first one to ask.
All right.
Yeah, so you just said if I start losing appetite and I could be already having an issue, and you're telling me to read, but I could be reading a book that is even making things worse. So are there recommended books, or is it just a matter of reading books?
It is important to read according to your interests. We all have different interests, and we read according to what we want to grow ourselves in. So ensure you read something that keeps you motivated, gives you a positive attitude or a feeling to life. It is important. And when you realize you're not able to eat, it could point out to anxiety, it could point out to depression, it could also point out to an coming or an illness that is onsetting. So you need to be very observant to your mind, to your body, to your feelings, and what generally is going on around you.
And what about this use of the word social distancing? Should we be social distancing, or should we be talking about safe distance? Because social distancing means I stop communicating with people, because social is also on WhatsApp. So is this really an appropriate word to use during COVID-19?
I think we can rename a few things, and because this COVID-19 caught us all without preparation, the use of the terms vary in different places. So whichever is applicable to you, you can use it. Of course, social, you have to keep social, but ensure there is safety.
Do we have questions? I'm just checking on my right to see whether we have a student or a faculty member with a question. So I think I see Daniel. Daniel, please unmute yourself and ask the question. And if you can put the video on, it's also okay. Please go ahead, Daniel.
Okay, thank you for this opportunity. I hope you are hearing me well.
Yes,
my question is, one of the best methods of helping those people with stress is by encouraging them to speak and someone, so that that stressful situation
okay, looks like we
declines in someone's mind. Yeah.
Okay, we are losing Daniel.
Hello.
Daniel, sorry, I think what we'll do, Nancy has allowed us to share her contacts with all of you. I think that will be the safest thing. Remember, the purpose of our expo today is to trigger lots of conversations and continue with this. So I think the best would be, we shall be sharing the contacts of Nancy with everybody else, so that the conversation can continue. Hello, Nancy, sorry. Now, the challenge of the internet, I was just asking you to make your final comments, because yes, as you can see, the system now has started acting up, and we'd like you to make your final comment, and you'll share the contacts, of course, we have. Thank you for your permission. Just make your 2-minute final comment.
All right, so thank you guys, and I appreciate for the opportunity. Let's look out for one another. Let's observe what our mind is telling us, how our emotions are, how we are feeling, and how we are behaving. Because by being able to observe these 3 items, then we can be able to regulate our mental health. Remember, your mental health is as important as your physical health, as any other part of your well-being. So as I said, my name is Nancy Kabiru. I'm a psychologist with Hisia Psychology Consultant. Our number is 0745 562 108. If you would like to reach us, I'll repeat the number again, 0745 562 108. Follow us on all social media platforms. We are always providing a lot of educative content. Happy to be here and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Nancy, and thank you everyone for participating. Now I have to close this session, and we are now preparing for the final round, and we are going to be making the announcements in the next 5 minutes. Thank you so much, and bring the meeting to an end. Asante sana, Nancy, we'll get in touch.
All right, see you.
Thank you.